Hi there, my name's Clare Samuels, founder of No I in Clare Training, and I'm delighted to bring you this video on communication skills. Today we're going to be looking at face-to-face communication, and by the end of this video we will have looked at building trust and rapport, questioning skills, listening skills, building empathy, having a really clear and concise message. We'll have touched on body language, our tone of voice, and also positive, powerful, persuasive language. When we think about face-to-face communication, it's really important that we think about what message is it that I am wanting to convey. So you might want to jot this down, but I would highly recommend you ask yourself the question, as a result of my communication, what do I want people to be thinking, feeling, or doing differently? I'm going to introduce you now to a character called Sarah. Her job today is to give a team briefing to her team to let them know about a restructure that her company is having. So if you'd be kind enough to watch the video and jot down your thoughts on Sarah, how effective was she? How well did she communicate? And what impact do you think her message had on her team? Have a look at this. Morning everyone, hi. I'm really sorry to drag you all here on a Monday morning. I'm struggling to be here as well, so we're all in this together. There've been some rumours, have you heard the rumours? Yeah, and sadly, I'm really sorry, unfortunately, there is going to be a reorg apparently. Now guys, just so you know, this is not me saying this at all, okay? It's the last thing I want. This is probably coming from the board. Yeah, it's this new directive. The really mad thing is, we've got to re-interview for our roles, yeah, which I'm not happy about, I have to say, because we've all been in the roles more than 3 years and we've actually got to re-interview for them. I mean, it's crazy, it's mental. I really don't understand that. So I'm not comfortable with that. There's been some gossiping and stuff, so all of you that have been doing that, please don't. The rumour mill thing's not going to work. Yeah, so listen, what we need to do is we just need to try and stay positive. I don't need to worry about anything. Some of the jobs are going to be at risk, I think about 5%, okay? And that's me included, so I'm in the same boat as you guys. I really don't want this to happen. I'm not comfortable with it. It is what it is. What we need to do, productivity has slipped the last couple of months because people have been a bit worried and anxious. What I need you all to do, please, is to up your productivity, work smarter, work more efficiently, and basically just chin up. We've just got to crack on, really. So, yeah, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, isn't it? Be the bearer of bad news. I'm really sorry about that. Don't shoot the messenger, okay? I'm feeling as bad about it as you all are. So chin up. Let's crack on. I've got a really important meeting in a bit. I don't know a lot. I'm fed information from them and I'm feeding it to you. This is an opportunity. We're going to do a Q&A, Grace? Yeah, question and answer. So have any of you got any questions?
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, you mentioned that about 5% of the jobs are going to be at risk in our department. Do you know which positions in particular? Are they focusing on different positions that they're thinking of kind of downsizing?
Yeah, I wish I knew. I really wish. I haven't got a clue.
Right.
So no, I don't know. As I say, they're not telling me much.
Sorry, just another one. With obviously the re-interviewing.
Yeah.
Is it that they're going to fire 5% of people and then the other 95 have to re-interview to try and get their positions again, or are they going to re-interview everyone and then once they've re-interviewed everyone, make the decision on the 5% that they're going to go for?
Wow, must be a good place to be in your brain, John. As I said to everybody, they're cutting about 5% of the jobs, yeah? We've all got a re-interview in our team. Okay, we're all re-interviewing for the jobs, that makes sense. Don't worry about it. We're all re-interviewing, even though we've all been here over 3 years. John?
Right.
Okay, got it. Okay, great, let's crack on. As I said, I've got an important meeting to go to now. Please, if you could leave the boardroom free for me, that would be super. Thank you. Thanks, John. Thank you so much, Mike. Okay, thank you, Grace. Thank you, Iqbal. Okay. How well do you think Sarah did there? Personally, I would have given her maybe a 1 or a 2 out of 10 for that team briefing. So I think it would be useful for us to analyse what went on there for Sarah in terms of her communication skills. So I don't know if you noticed, but the very first thing that we saw from Sarah was her looking nervous. She was looking, wasn't she, like she didn't want to be there. So her body language wasn't open and it wasn't confident. And she actually started the whole team briefing with an apology. She said, "Oh, I'm really sorry to drag you all here." So in terms of language, it's really useful not to apologise, particularly at the start of a team briefing. And using the word drag was not helpful to either Sarah or her team, because immediately everybody in that room felt, yeah, actually I was dragged here. So useful for us to use positive, powerful, persuasive language that we'll look at a little bit later on. Sarah went on to actually make the conversation about her. She said, "I don't want to be here either." Really important when we're communicating with people, we don't make it about us, we make it about the people that we are communicating to. And then she went on to use negative language. Sadly, unfortunately, what happens to our brains when we hear negative language? We subconsciously feel negative because neural pathways light up in our brain that make us feel, I'm a bit sad, I'm a bit negative. It's the same when we use positive words. If we're using positive, powerful, persuasive language, people have got different neural pathways lighting up in their brain, which makes them subconsciously feel more positive and feel happier. When we're delivering messages in the workplace, we need to take ownership and accountability. What Sarah was now doing was blaming other people. She was saying, "It's not me saying this. Please don't shoot the messenger." And she said, "I think it's a directive from the board, apparently." So she's not taking ownership for the situation. Sarah is the manager of this team, so she definitely should be taking accountability. In a very formal setting, we need to be very careful of the language that we use and make sure it is appropriate and professional. Sarah started to use phrases such as crazy, is mental, it's mad. Not only is she putting her own value judgment on the situation and telling us her opinion, that language isn't at all appropriate in the workplace. Thinking about Sarah's body language, she had her arms folded, she was wringing her hands, she was tutting, and some of her facial expressions actually made us feel she was being a little bit childish. Particularly in that question and answer session that we saw, she was rolling her eyes and tutting and really pulling a face at John as if to say, "Oh, what are you talking about?" So we need to be very, very mindful of our facial expressions, our eye contact and our hand gestures. Sarah used the phrase, "Don't worry, don't worry." Again, if we hear the phrase "don't worry," immediately we start worrying. So really useful to use positive, powerful, persuasive language and take out those negative phrases such as "don't worry." Sarah also told everybody what she didn't know and what she couldn't do. A number of times she said, I don't know, they're not telling me anything." When we are communicating really, really effectively, we're telling people what we can do and not what we can't do. So if Sarah hadn't done her research and she genuinely didn't know the answer, rather than say, "I don't know," it would be far more impactful if she said, "Thanks so much for that question. I'll go and find out for you and I'll get back to you by this evening." So telling people what you can do and not what you can't do, far, far more impactful. So that was Sarah, as we know, and we will revisit Sarah a little bit later on in this video. So you've got your message, you know what your message is that you want to communicate, you know what you want people to be thinking, feeling or doing differently as a result of your message. So it would be useful now for us to think about how are we going to deliver that message. So when we are communicating face to face, we use 3 things. We use body language, we use tone of voice, and also we use the words that we're using. In terms of body language, that can include things like facial expressions, eye contact, smiling, folded arms, open hand gestures. Tone of voice, we're thinking about volume, the pitch, the pace, and how often we pause when we speak. And in terms of the words, as we've already mentioned already in this video, we're going to make sure our words are positive, powerful, and persuasive. In order for us to think about these three things, I'd like you to watch another video and meet my friend Simone. Simone works in HR and she is going to show us 3 different videos. So we are going to now see Simone 1, Simone 2 and Simone 3. And if you'd be kind enough for each video, jot down the answer to 2 questions. So the first question is, how did Simone make you feel? And the second question is, what was Simone doing that made you feel that way? So if you'd be kind enough to jot down the answer to those 2 questions for Simone 1, Simone 2 and Simone 3, after you've watched the videos, we'll meet back here and have a chat about it. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Simone from HR. Welcome to the training. You will be served coffee at 11 a.m, lunch at 1 p.m. and tea at 3 p.m. There are no fire drills today. If you need me for anything, you can reach me on extension 2491. Thanks so much. Enjoy your training. Hi there, my name is Simone from HR. Welcome to the training. You'll be served coffee at 11 a.m, lunch at 1 p.m, and tea at 3 p.m. There are no fire drills today. If you need me for anything, you can reach me on extension 2491. Thanks so much. Enjoy your training. Hi there, my name is Simone from HR. Welcome to the training. You'll be served coffee at 11 a.m, lunch at 1 p.m, and tea at 3 p.m. There are no fire drills today. If you need me for anything, you can reach me on extension 2491. Thanks so much. Enjoy your training.
Simone 1, how did she make you feel? If you're anything like me, she made me feel that she was uncertain with her message. She made me feel that she was unclear. I wasn't confident in her ability as an HR representative. And what was she doing that made me feel that way? She was very submissive with her tone of voice and her body language. So a little bit hunched over. When she walked into the room, she didn't seem too sure. I noticed her volume was quite low and her pauses were so long, it was making me feel that she couldn't remember what was actually coming next. So it seemed to me that she was coming from a very passive and submissive place where she wasn't confident in her ability and she didn't really want to be in the room. In terms of Simone 2, how did she make you feel? Well, she made me feel quite intimidated. I felt that she was angry. She made me feel that maybe I'd done something wrong, and she made me feel that she was telling me off. And what was she doing? Well, she was shouting. She was quite aggressive with her body language. She was doing a lot of, I can't do it, but she was doing a lot of nods, and she was giving quite aggressive eye contact, I noticed. She sort of stormed off at the end, and I don't know if you noticed the facial expression that she gave at the end. It was very much accusatory, as if the people in the room had done something wrong. So to me, it felt that she was aggressive and not particularly friendly. And finally then, Simone 3, how did she make you feel? She made me feel very welcomed. She made me feel that she was confident in her ability as an HR representative. I liked her. So what was Simone 3 doing? She had very open body language, open gestures. She was smiling. She was giving really lovely eye contact to everybody. So she wasn't aggressively staring people out. She had a lovely volume, and I thought her tone of voice was very warm and very welcoming. And I had real confidence in Simone's ability as an HR representative. So in terms of Simone 1, 2 and 3, apart from the wonderful actress playing Simone, what was actually identical about all three Simones? Well, it was the script, wasn't it? The words that Simone was using. Absolutely identical for all three. And yet we felt so incredibly different. Really interesting for us to analyse then. We can use words, but the way that we deliver the words will have a huge impact on the receiver of the message. So isn't it interesting that we can have three different Simones all using exactly the same language, and yet they made us feel so completely different. Simone 1 made us feel that we were underconfident in her ability. We thought that she was nervous. Simone 2, we felt that she was aggressive. We felt intimidated by her, potentially threatened. And Simone 3, we felt welcomed and valued, and that we were really confident in her ability. Let's explore a little bit more around body language. Lots of research tells us when we're communicating face to face, body language has such a huge impact on the person that's receiving the message. So if I stand like this with my arms folded, I might feel really comfortable. And if my tone of voice and words are really friendly, you might think that that's okay. However, if I've got my arms folded and I'm frowning and I'm shouting, we know immediately that I am cross. So really useful for us to think about our gestures, to think about our eye contact. If we are addressing a large room of people, we want to give everybody a little bit of eye contact so that everybody feels included. If we're having a one-to-one conversation with somebody, we want to give them eye contact, look away for a little while, give them eye contact again. We clearly don't want to stare them out for the entire conversation. Equally, we don't want to be scrolling on our phones or looking at our emails or not looking the person in the eye. Very often when we can't look at people, people think that we might be lying or not being honest, or that we're very, very painfully shy. So when we're communicating to people, really, really useful for us to give them eye contact. Smiling, you might think, well, yeah, it's a really underrated thing, smiling. Why are we talking about smiling on this video? Smiling makes such a difference when we are being communicated with. When we're wanting to put people at ease, smiling is a really, really effective way that we can do that. Clearly, there's a time and a place for smiling. If we're about to make somebody redundant, clearly we're not going to smile as we're doing it. But smiling's really, really useful tool to help people feel relaxed. So particularly when we're greeting people at the start of meetings, when we're wanting to put people at ease, definitely giving them a really nice smile will massively help. Tone of voice is really, really important when we are communicating with people. And it's useful for us to think about 4 different areas. So we're going to talk about volume, pitch, pace, and pausing. Clearly, when we're having one-to-one conversation with somebody, we don't want to be shouting. We don't want to be really, really aggressive and speaking very, very loudly. And in the same breath, we don't want to be whispering, and so that people can't hear what we are saying. So useful to have a really good volume. If we were to have it on a scale of 0 to 10, I'd probably have our volume at about a 6 or a 7. We'll raise our volume if we are talking to more people. Sometimes we can bring our volume down for a little bit of effect, which can be really, really useful. If we're wanting to show empathy, if somebody's getting upset, we may well bring our volume down. What can be really frustrating for listeners is when people are speaking so quietly, we can't really hear them. And we're constantly saying, sorry, what did you say? Pardon, pardon. And if you missed that last bit of what I said, just turn the volume up by 3. But volume, really, really important. Pitch. Pitch is where we place our voice on the musicality of the scale. So we can talk really, really high up here or really, really low down here. We can speak like this, which is about halfway between, but I am just speaking at 1 note. If I am really speaking like this all the time, it can feel very boring and really feel very monotone. Have you fallen asleep yet? And so it's useful when we're communicating to vary our voice and to use different notes on the scale and really vary our intonation up and down the scale. It makes it feel more interesting for the person that's receiving our message. In terms of pausing, some people pause for... I won't keep doing this for you because you really will turn the video off. But some people pause for such a long time and we're thinking, come on, get on with it, get on with it. Other people don't pause at all and they're speaking so quickly they don't put any pauses in. So really useful for us to think about our pauses effectively. Again, we can pause for effect. So I might say to you, the sky is blue and the grass is green. And what I've done there is I've put a pause in. So we can use pause for effect. We need to be cognizant around what our pausing is like and how often we use pauses. In terms of pace as well, we don't want to be speaking too quickly and we don't want to be speaking too slowly either. So a lovely way for you to analyse your volume, your pitch, your pausing and your pace is to video yourself just for a couple of minutes. Talk about something that you love, a passion of yours, a hobby. Talk to yourself, to your camera for a couple of minutes. And then I'd like you to watch that back and just think about those 4 elements and how much or how little you are doing that. And that'll be really, really useful for you to start to get a gauge of where you sit within those 4 different areas. We're going to talk now about filler words. Filler words are words that we use when we are thinking. They are filler words, and a lot of us do ers, ers when we're chatting. And if we're chatting in everyday life, that's absolutely acceptable. If we are giving a briefing or we're giving a presentation or we're really having a difficult conversation and wanting to communicate well, the less filler words we can use, the better. So I'll share some examples with you. Basically, obviously, you know, like. Somebody might say to me, you know, it's like, basically, obviously, literally, what I was doing the other day, I was going up the high street, you know, and do you know what? And I mean, it's like, and I went into the, you know, the kind of shop, you know, like, and it's, who was it that was there? It was Mrs. Brown. Really, really useful for us to, A, be aware of when we're doing it, and B, try and get rid of those filler words when we are having these really good communications and really, really good conversations. We're going to talk now about building rapport. Building rapport is one of my favourite things. I absolutely love building rapport. Some of us find it quite easy and some of us find it harder. So how actually do we build rapport with somebody? There's a whole host of things that we can do. If it is a stranger or somebody we don't know, asking questions is a great way to build rapport. We can ask a couple of questions, get some information, and then what we want to do is find commonality. Commonality is something that is common for them and common for us. So for example, where do you live? I live in London. Wow, fantastic. I live in Surrey. It's just outside London. Whereabouts in London do you live? And immediately we start to form a conversation, which is wonderful. In terms of building rapport with people on our team, with our colleagues, with people in the workplace, useful for us to chat about some of the skills that we need in order to build rapport. Questioning and listening skills are absolutely vital when we're building rapport, and we're going to look at questioning and listening in just a moment. Finding commonality, as I talked about, is a really lovely way to build rapport with somebody. Showing empathy, putting yourself in the other person's shoes. As soon as I stop pushing my agenda onto somebody and I think about what's life like for them and I find out what's going on in their world, we start to build rapport, we build the relationship and we build trust. So let's look at some questioning techniques. TED, T-E-D, TED. TED questions are one of the best ways that we can build trust and rapport with somebody. The T stands for tell me about or talk me through. The E is explain to me and the D is describe to me. The reason these questions are so brilliant is because they elicit lots and lots of information from the other person. For example, talk me through what's it like where you live. And then I'm going to get lots and lots of information. Really useful for us to be getting information from the other person so we can discover what life is like for them in their world. We can build trust with them, we can show empathy, and we can have a really good, positive relationship. Open questions will give us more information than a yes or a no. For example, what, where, when, why, who, and how. They're great questions for getting more information. For example, where do you live? And the answer is London. Talk me through, what's it like where you live? Oh, it's really leafy, it's a lovely village, there are lots of cars, it's commuter belt. We then get 4 pieces of information with the TED question. With an open question, we get more than a yes or no. The answer that I'm guessing is London. So open questions can be really, really useful. TED questions are phenomenal for getting information, and open questions are great if we want more than a yes or a no answer. I tend to stay away from closed questions unless I'm clarifying something. An example of where I might clarify something: so you've told me you are frustrated with management at the moment, you've not enjoyed writing this report, and you need to have next week off. Is that right? So the "is that right?" that is a closed question, and I'm using it to clarify that I've checked and understood what the person has said, and then I'll get a yes. Then I know I've understood them and I can move on. If we're asking somebody lots and lots of closed questions, it's really difficult to have two-way communication because I'm only getting yes or no as an answer. So if we want the other person to feel loved and valued and that we're building trust, we want to use these brilliant TED questions and these brilliant open questions to get that information from them. If you want to get really specific with somebody, we can use detail questions. And a great example of a detail question starts with specifically. So you've told me you're finding difficulty with the report. Specifically, what are you finding difficult about it? And then that person will really, really drill down into the detail and give me a much, much better picture of what the issue is. To summarise then, TED questions and open questions, brilliant. Closed questions, let's use them for clarifying. And that lovely detail question that starts with specifically will really help us to drill down into the detail. Another key communication skill is active listening. In order to connect with people and build trust and build rapport, we need to be very, very present and actively listen to what it is that they are saying. So how do we do that? Well, it's a very good question because it can be very difficult sometimes to really be present and really listen to what the other person is saying. So the first thing we can do is get rid of all distractions. If we have got our phones with us or our laptops, it can be really hard to concentrate on what the other person is saying because we're looking for messages or notifications. So tip number 1, get rid of all distractions. Tip number 2, say to yourself, I am going to be present in this communication. I'm really going to actively listen to what the other person is saying. And if we go into a communication with that mindset, it will massively help us to stay present. We've talked about questioning, asking brilliant questions, getting a response, and asking another question that's linked to that response is a great way to actively listen. And also repeating back what the other person has said can be really, really useful. Not only does it make the other person feel very valued and listened to, we can also check for our understanding and we can make sure that we've really listened accurately and we know that what they've said we have fully taken on board. One of the biggest things that we can do to actively listen is shut up and use silence. Yes, that's what I said, shut up and use silence. Not you shut up, me shut up. Really, really important. We ask a brilliant question, we shut up and we use silence. We enable the other person to carry on talking. As human beings, we tend to interrupt, we jump in, we're waiting to speak. What we need to consciously do, ask a question, shut up, and actively listen to what it is that they are telling us. A thing that we can do to really encourage them to carry on talking is what we call non-verbals. So nodding the head, smiling, and using a couple of phrases or go on. And that will enable the other person to continue talking. Really important for us to acknowledge what the other person has said. We might ask them a brilliant TED question, get a really good response, and yet not do anything with that information. So acknowledging what they've said, really, really key to good communication. Do you remember Sarah from earlier? We're going to meet Sarah again. The brilliant news is that Sarah's been on this course. She has watched these videos and she's taken on board all the top tips and techniques. So if you'd be kind enough to watch Sarah, give the briefing again, feel free to jot down some notes. How effective do you think Sarah was? And then when you come back, we'll have a chat about it. Here's Sarah now. Morning everybody, thank you so much for your time today, I really appreciate it. I want to let you know that there will be some changes to the way that the business is structured moving forward, and we've all got 3 hours this morning to share best practice, to look at what that means to us as an individual and also to us as a team. I understand this is a challenging time for us and I really want to guide you all and support you all through the process. The first piece of information I'd like to share with you today is the board has unanimously agreed there will be 5% of job cuts moving forward from next year. We will all be asked to re-interview for our roles and for our jobs, and I'll be booking a one-to-one with all of you next week in order to support you through the process and look at the logistics. And I really want us to use this time today to make sure we're all feeling comfortable with the information that we have. First thing I'd like to do before we look at the presentation, is there any questions from any of you about this information?
Yeah, I've got one.
John?
Obviously this sounds like a thing that has been decided and is definitely happening. What, if you could tell me, what was it that actually motivated the decision?
Yeah, sure. It was 100% the pandemic. Obviously, the pandemic massively impacted us financially. And what with hybrid working, the amalgamation of roles, the board has decided it will be much better for the business moving forward to make these cuts. Any other questions for now? Well, as I say, thank you so much for your time. I really want to help you. One thing I will say is all the information that I'm being given, I'm sharing with you immediately. So I only got this information at 8 o'clock this morning. So I will continue to do that and to let you know everything as I know. Mike, can you cue the slideshow, please? What did you notice that time and what mark did you give Sarah out of 10? I gave Sarah a 7 or an 8, even a 9 out of 10. It'll be useful for us to analyse what Sarah did differently. She was very clear, wasn't she, this time? She was concise. She got to the point. There was none of that negative language, no blaming, no filler words, no unusual facial expressions. She wasn't rude or sarcastic to John. She took ownership, she explained why she was there, she took accountability, she didn't blame the leadership team, she didn't blame the board, it was all coming from her, which was great. In terms of her body language, I felt her posture was much better. She had open body language, she wasn't folding her arms, she gave everybody eye contact. And I don't know if you noticed, but I felt her tone of voice was warmer and much easier on the ear. In terms of the Q&A that she ran, she told people what she could do. She wasn't saying, I don't know. She'd done her research. She had prepared really well. She told everybody exactly what was expected of them. She used lovely language. I'm going to guide you through the process. She gave the meeting 3 hours as opposed to 5 minutes. She didn't say, oh, I've got a really important meeting to get to, like she did the first time, which made everybody in the room feel that this wasn't important. I hope you've had some insights there from watching Sarah deliver a poor presentation earlier on in the video and then a much better presentation just now. We're coming to the end of our video now. I hope you've really enjoyed it. We looked at body language, tone of voice, the words that we use, avoiding filler words, building trust, building rapport, connecting with people, active listening, and really brilliant questioning skills. Thank you so much for watching our video on communication skills.